Hi everyone, Beth here with Pearl Treasure Designs. Thanks for joining me. Today we have a special project for you to watch. So let's head on over to see what I have going on. So this is where the madness begins. Yes, 22 years I've put up with this nasty bathroom, and we are about to see what we're going to do with it. First, that louvered door is coming out. And then we get to take out this toilet and deal with the Venetian plaster, yes, from the 80s, and or early 2000s, I should say. And then we are going to have the floors taken out. We needed to use a jackhammer because it was literally embedded into concrete. And then the lovely, lovely bathroom vanity is going to be taken out. And that large mirror is going to be repainted and repurposed, as is the countertop. The lovely moss tile, again in the closet, is going to be taken out, and you get to see the lovely start of the demolition. Unfortunately, the closet wasn't emptied before the tile was taken out, so everything had to be washed. So here you have a wonderful look at the original tile that was put in this bathroom from 1972 on the floor and on the baseboards, and you'll see the corner tile around the tub. So I took out the border tile along the floor to make room for the jackhammer to get in there and take up all of that tile, because it had been seated inside in concrete. It wasn't laid down with adhesive and had grout. It was seated in concrete, and concrete was not just the mortar, but it was the filler in between the tiles. So we had to have all of that taken up. The tiles themselves were in excellent condition, but it looked like moss was growing on the bottom of my bathroom floor, which was kind of disgusting. So I finally had enough after 22 years of putting up with, mossy tile in my guest bath. So I gave myself a budget and pretty much stuck to that budget outside of having to buy a new toilet. So you'll get to see this process. It was a bit lengthy. It took me a couple of hours because of my limitations to get the tile up, but I was able to do it with a couple of breaks. So you get to see this as we move along. So here is that lovely towel rack that's been there since 1972. Yeah, I keep making reference to that because they are the ugliest things ever created. And I am going to attempt to basically get these off the wall, and hopefully I don't put a huge hole in the wall. But that's the benefit of being married to a handyman. He can fix it if I destroy it. So this is my attempt. So I'm going to put this in fast play so you can see how I did. And once I finished the tile, I went to remove the towel rack, which literally came down with a couple bangs of the sledgehammer. And I'm trying to get some of that mortar that is sticking out of the wall off the wall, and then I know I'm going to have to repair it with some, some patchwork and then sanding. So I'm just trying to get off a bunch of the stuff that's sticking out because I know it won't sand well. Now that the towel rack's off, I am attempting to remove this wonderful toilet paper holder, which too is one of the ugliest things on the planet. So, again, it is all ceramic and quite heavy, but even scoring it wasn't budging it. It took some work. So I've got a little chisel here, and I'm going to try and see what I can do with this and a hammer. So let's put this in fast motion so you can see the little disaster that I created. So everything had to be washed. So here we are starting the process of filling in holes, taking out the towel rack and filling those holes with patches and plaster, letting it dry, sanding it, and then we had to sand down all of the Venetian plaster to receive the bonding boss from Dixie Belle, and then it could receive the glue for the paper that I had picked out. Now I'm showing you where I had taken the baseboards off that were pieces of tile, as well as the towel rack through the bottom of the bathroom, prior to the tile being taken out with it. The vanity was removed after the plumbing was stopped. Here the tiles have been removed. What a process. Thank God for my son-in-law. He was able to get that all taken out, as well as my husband. They removed the toilet, the vanity, all the tiles, including the ones in the closet. And we did leave the tub because it is a, I guess, an iron tub, and it was very, very heavy. So we're trying to leave that and see if we can reinstall new fixtures within the tub, and we're finding that to be very difficult because of the age, and none of the plumbing wants to line up with modern plumbing, so that we're having to figure that piece out. You know, I couldn't believe that the installers for the toilet paper rack literally had that sitting in the wall with just plaster. There was nothing behind it. It was surreal. Once the vanity was rolled out, I was able to use Dixie Belle Bonding Boss on this after it was deeply cleaned and everything. And I was able to use some Dixie Belle paint on this, and I loved the antebellum color for this. It matched the color, the dark color in the paper that I picked out. And since I wasn't going to take off the vanity top for cost, I went ahead and did that. And so it took 2 coats, and then I used a clear coat satin from Dixie Belle to seal it all together. I just wanted that satin finish for the vanity, so it was pretty washable, being that it's in a bathroom. And while I was waiting for other parts of demolition, I went ahead and painted the bathroom closet door. All of the louvers have been removed, and I went ahead and I filled each of the louver slots with a paintable chalk or caulking from DAP, and that worked really well. I ended up using a putty knife to level it off, and then I let it dry overnight. And then any other areas I needed to fill, I went ahead and did that prior to putting the plexi on. So the plexi I ended up measuring, and it was kind of a pain in the butt to cut the plexi even as thin as it is with the cutting blade, because it just required two people, and and it had to be done with the exact measurements. So it actually worked out. I ended up using the square dowels to set this on, and that had dried overnight, and it was put in place with a brad nailer. So I sat that on top, and then I'm getting ready to put the other top dowels on that I pre-measured out, and those will go in place again with a brad nailer. And it worked out beautifully. So you'll get to see this process. I'll put this in fast motion. It's kind of like watching paint dry. So you'll get to see how I did that. All of the square dowels were painted ahead of time, pre-measured, and I did use the miter shears to angle them so that I had a nice snug fit. So I'm getting ready to use this pin nailer. According to my husband, it's not a brad nailer, it's a pin nailer. And this thing was absolutely amazing. It made the job so easy, and it went very quickly. No hammer, scuff marks on the plexi or dings in the wood. This thing was well worth it. And so now that's on my birthday wish list. So you guys, I'm going to put this in fast motion so you can see the process. Here is the doors to the vanity. I prepped it with Dixie Belle bonding boss prior to, and I taped off the hinges. And now it's time to put the Dixie Belle color Antebellum on for the first coat. I did use a roller for this. It kind of gave it an orange peel type of texture, which I don't mind on this. I was trying to avoid the streaks from a brush because the surface was so, I guess, polished. The Dixie Belle Bonding Boss really helped keep this paint where it needed to be until it dried. So originally I said it took 2 coats. I think it was actually 3 coats on the doors. I want to be sure that it's going to be really durable because that's the parts that get touched the most. So I did this for the doors, and the process I went through this with the drawers as well, inside and the outside of the drawers as well. I'm going to put this in fast motion so you can see how the process worked. Here is the prep for the vanity. I used the painter's tape on the inside to keep it from having any streaks of paint on the inside. At this point, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, but I knew I didn't want to paint it. That's when I decided later on I would use the wallpaper to line the inside openings and then place the the drawers, and it worked out well. So the process of painting, it was covered with bonding boss first due to it being a smooth surface. I did scuff up the surface with a little bit of sandpaper prior to bonding boss. And then the process of painting with the antebellum paint by Dixie Belle went on very, very well for this project. The next part of this process, I wanted to paint the medicine cabinet. And so I did the fronts and the doors inside and out. And on the inside, I actually placed the leftover wallpaper inside each opening. And I was able to do all the drawers to the vanity and the door to the medicine cabinet as well. I didn't take a video of the wallpaper going into this, so you will see this at the final reveal. It came out perfect. So my husband is installing the tile in the bathroom, and I picked this octagonal white and gold tile with a light grout that he's installing right now. So yeah, you get to see that too. The tile job came out perfect. My husband did such a wonderful job, and I'm very happy with it. So now it's install time with the vanity, and we will get ready for the toilet, the wainscoting, and all of the extra stuff. Vanity has been installed. The closet has been painted. The mirror repurposed and the wainscoting up. Wainscoting is painted and the wallpaper is up. New threshold in place. The copper supply line for the toilet in place. Oh, now the final reveal. I installed a privacy film so you can't see my cleaning supplies. So it's on the bottom of the bathroom closet door. Thanks everyone for watching. I'm glad that you stayed to the end. If you could like, share, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. You know those algorithms. We've got to get past them so we can build our channel. Thanks for joining me, and until next time, we'll see you later.